Graham, good to see you again. I'll start with injuries. How, again, similarly question to every week, how close are the likes of Anthony Sarcevic, Alex Patterson's and Aidan Baldwin's?
Aidan and Pato joined in training today with us, so that was a positive. Sars will be maybe another week, we think, before joining in at the moment, as an approximate idea. Kieran Kelly was out on the grass today. Jack Shepherd from last night is still being assessed, but feels a lot better. Lewis Richards has got an appointment tonight with the consultant about his shoulder. Anyone else? Callum Kavanagh, no, he's fine. He trained Monday, so he trained Monday, trained today. So yeah, there's no issue there. I think that's it. Is it? Maybe. Hopefully. Yeah.
In Alex and Aidan's case, initially, are they in contention for Saturday?
No. It's this is their first day with us, and it was only a small session because obviously the lads played last night, and so it was just their first time where they fully integrated. There was no sort of management of them, so we'll see how they respond to that. And there's no way they're in contention for Saturday. We wouldn't do that after the time they've spent out. And
to follow up that answer then with this question, how careful do you have to be with those two players and the players that have been out for such a length of time?
I think there's a balance. Look, you have to get them up to speed, but we learn a little bit more about the athlete every time we sort of interact with them. So Pat has obviously been here for a long time, but it's new staff that manage him this year, so there's a getting to know period, and Aidan's just joined us. So I think as you work with each other longer, that's when you understand the athlete, how long they take to recover, and all that sort of thing, and how much they can push themselves mentally as well. So we just have to sort of take it day by day, really, and if it's a positive day, which it was today, we tick it off and we move on to the next one, rather than can we try and squeeze a little bit more in today. I think that would be the risk that's not worth taking at this period of the season. So we won't, and we obviously want them back. We want them to join back in with the squad and be available for us for competition. But the worst case scenario is losing them again. So we got to avoid that at all costs. But you have to train to some semblance of intensity to be prepared for the game. So we'll talk to the players, because they're both experienced players, and some of the others like Sars. But I think we need to push them a little bit as well.
Yeah. What's the mindset for you now then, in terms of the injuries that you've had to endure over recent weeks? Does it feel like light at the end of the tunnel, or is that undermining the work that you've done in the absence of those players, if that makes sense?
No, look, I think and it's not just been a few weeks; it's been a few months. If we think about it, from back to I think the Grimsby game when we lost Aidan after 9 minutes, but then the Walsall one 2 weeks later, that's when we lost the rest of the back three, and then that's when the issues really sort of snowballed, really, and we started losing players in regular sort of time. So no, I don't want to sort of talk negatively about the team and the players that have been playing, because I think there's been really good performances. We've won some games. We're obviously in a sticky patch right now. But I don't think there's a team in League Two that wouldn't miss Aidan Baldwin, Kieran Kelly, Neil Byrne, Anthony Sarcevic, Alex Patterson, Torrey Wright, all these players at the same time. What's happening in Man City? You know what I mean? That's the thing. It's these players are here, and they're good players, and it's just the ability to be able to maintain performances when there's Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. When we need to bring on subs, so that's when they're needed as well. It's not for the bench, but when we started the season, our team was really strong, but our bench was just as strong. And you've seen a few young boys coming onto the bench in recent weeks, and that's no detriment to them, but they're obviously not at the same level as these senior players. And we just need that sort of competition back again, and that ability to be able to either change the team in short game periods, or in game where we can improve the performance or see games out. And I just think that's where we've been a little bit short of options, not quality, but of options.
With that all in mind then, does it make you feel positive about where you are still in the League 2 table? You are still 8th, you're just outside the playoffs, despite all of the adversity injury-wise.
Yeah.
But people may look to the form recently and say, as you say, a bit sticky, but you hold on to that fact that, we've got here and we've still got these players to come back.
100%. For me it does, because I think you always you talk about it in the summer and you talk about tough times that will come in the season pending. You hope to get a bit of ball rolling before that sort of hits you, and I think we probably had about 4 games and it started to happen. But this is what we talk about, the squad. When we're talking to the squad on day 1 and week 3 and week 4 about pre-season, you will all be needed. We all have to get you up to some really good level of fitness. We have to be resilient, because we will need 22 players, 23 players over the course of the season to be successful. But we never said it would be this 11 players, supported by this 11 players. It has to be across the group. And I think we recovered well to win consecutive games and climb up the table and be in a really strong position. And I think we've just been on the wrong end of fine margins in the last, I would say the Doncaster game was a game that we can't really look back at and say we deserve to win from that. So I'll take that out of the equation. But the other games since, I think we've been well in the game and it could have easily gone our way. But that's how it is. So we have to just turn these fine margins, as I said last night, into our favour. And I believe we've got the players available to be able to do that.
How do you think the likes of Jamie and Bobby in particular are standing up to that workload asked of them right now? Because Anthony, obviously, Alex out, Joe Adams gone from that equation. So an area that you are effectively down to bare bones, and week in, week out, they're being selected and playing.
Yeah, and the other one that comes into that is Clark, but he's been used as wing back at the moment because of the injuries as well. So that's when we're talking about options, and I know every player, and I certainly know those players, they want to play every minute. You know what I mean? So I don't think they're sitting there thinking, unfortunate for their manager, he hasn't got options to mix and match. I think Jamie's a guy that gets better with regular football. That's what I felt from my experience with him last season when he came back from that injury. I think he knows himself, but I suppose his first 3 or 4 games weren't very good when he come back from it. But you see how he finished the season. And Bobby's a young player. I think that he's getting fitter and better and more resilient. His data over the last month has been exceptional, as in a physical output, but also he's always involved in the game in both sides of it. He presses, he defends well. I was really pleased with his defending on Saturday, but he always gives us an end product in the final third. He takes people on, he gets crosses, he gets shots. He knows the tactical side of it. So I think Bobby is probably really took advantage of this period to show that he's here to compete with all the senior players, and so fair play to him.
When you first came to this football club, there was a lot of excitement around Bobby. He'd just about broken into the team. It was the first real time that he'd been involved in the first team. How much has he grown from that Bobby Boynton that you had when you initially arrived to a player that is effectively in this team week in, week out now? Yeah,
I think I learned more of it. He started the first couple of games, I think, but what happened and the position the team was in when we came in, we had to win games fast to get away from trouble, and we were probably playing a type of game that didn't particularly suit him. We were very aggressive, very direct, because we had to get out of trouble. And then because we won a lot of games and sort of got the ball rolling, he was out of the picture a little bit, considerably. At the end of the season, post Harrogate, it was like, right, I'm giving him these games to see if he can be part of what we want to create going forward. And he played exceptionally well at the end of the season. Added competition in the summer, so it's like, come on in, here we go. These are proven, League 2 promotion winners that you're competing against. But what I've seen Bobby is there's never a down day. There's never a day where he's not at it. That's what I love about him. There's no there's no mood like I'm up, I'm down, I'm up, I'm down. It's always I'm out, and that's for him is I think for the rest of his career, if he has that, he'll have as good a career as he wants it to be. That's how I see it. So I've seen him grow in that. I've seen him stand up to the competition and actually think, where do I have to improve to make sure that I can be in that team? So that's what all players should have. You know, you don't have that in every individual, but if you can have those players, get more of those players, use those players and influence to get other players to see that whatever you put in, you will get back. And that's what Bobby's. He's a shining example of that, to be honest, at such a young age. So I don't want to go overboard about him because it's a really young stage of his career. But he's made great strides in my eyes, and I am quite a harsh critic, I would say, of what's needed to be a professional footballer over 10, 15 years. But he stepped up to the challenge every time we've put one down for him.
In the case of Jamie, we spoke to him not too long ago, and I think he admitted himself what you said there. It takes him a few games to get back going, and I think he said in his own words he was pleased to be at the level that he was last night, pressing like he did for the Carlisle goal, like he did for the Walsall goal. Did you see that in his play, and is that when Jamie Walker is at his best in this system? Yeah,
I think. Like I said to you after the game last night, we had to tweak the press after about 5-10 minutes because they'd changed their shape and everything, and he was one of the changes we had to make, and he said to me at half time, he goes, I like it when I can do that, I like it when I can release. What Jamie needs to understand when he does release, and if he misses the press, getting back into the shape again, you know, and I've spoken to him about that a few times where he can miss the challenge but then take a bit of time to get back into the shape, and that's where you have to be a really fit player to be able to go in, commit, and then get back into your shape. And we do a lot of work on that in our training. And but he's as he gets fitter and gets better, then he understands that. And I think he actually, I think I've said it last season, I think he's one of the best at smelling when the right opportunity is there to go and turn the ball over. And I thought he did that a lot last night as well. So it's how we want to play, it's how we are. I think anyone who wants to be in the team has to buy into it, and it's been a really, I think, strong part of our defensive game, because even though we haven't kept the clean sheets that we'd expect at this stage of the season, you know, in the last 3 games we've only had 5 shots against us on target in 3 whole games. So you know what I mean, it's that's a pretty good record, but it's down to how we put teams under pressure. But it's also an attacking threat for us because we have numerous chances. I think we're one of the best in the division at having opportunities to score off these presses as well. So Jamie's one of those lads who can do it really well, and I think he enjoys it.
Yeah. In terms of I hate to use this phrase in terms of describing it because it probably doesn't do it justice, but the second striker spot that partners Andy in the league outfit. Are you still waiting for someone in that group to put their hand up and say, that's my spot? Yeah,
if I'm being honest, because that's, you know, you can see over the last 4 games or so, I think they've all started. You know, Verdane, Ollie, Tyler and Cav. And it's a couple more that have had more opportunities than others. But that's a decision I have to make off other aspects of the game. And the pressing side of it is a important part of it, and being a sort of a counterfoil for what Andy Cook gives us. You know, we can't have the exact same type of player, and we need people who can bring us into play. All the other things, press, running behind, all those aspects that most front lines will carry, and it's down to them. You know, I think. Obviously, ultimately, the responsibility is me on picking the team, but the players have a responsibility as well to go, you can't leave me out. You know, listen, there's not a manager in the world who looks at a player and he's doing a great job and scoring goals and then takes him out of the team. Well, very rarely. Certainly not me, anyway. So that's a challenge for them. I think if they're waiting for a run of games to go, you know, without any performance-related sort of feedback for the payback to the team, and just say, I need 6 games to get them running, ain't gonna happen. You know, we need to be competitive game in, game out. So they're going to have to hit the ground running as quick as possible. But it is, like I said a few weeks ago, it is not, we are saying, right, who can score as many goals as Andy Cook to play next to him. It's who can help the team win. And so that's what we're looking to do from that group of players.
I know you were at home last night, but back at home in the league this Saturday, and the atmosphere that comes with a game of that magnitude. And obviously a place where the form has been good this season. Is that a welcome foil for you?
I think so. I think the players are enjoying playing at Valley Parade. Even last night, we obviously we were on the wrong end of the result, but the performance was really good. You could see the players enjoyed playing. They expressed themselves. They pressed. They worked hard. It was a really good performance. We just we have to get a clinical in one box and an ultra clinical in the other, because we didn't. We had one shot on target against us, from a set piece, and that's a frustrating one for us really, because I think Fleetwood is a penalty, Colchester it's a corner. Last night was a second phase corner. So from open play, we've been really strong defensively. So the performance last night was very good. And like I say, I think I think I said it a few weeks ago, the players are actually, as they should be, looking forward to a home game in front of 15, 16,000 fans that want them to play well and win. So I've been really pleased with the strides that each individual and the team have made at Valley Parade. But we've talked about our away record, having to match that if we want to be serious contenders for success this season. So we know where our our issues lie. We know how to fix it, and we're working hard to do that. And I think the returning players will help us do that as well. But we'll be looking forward to the game on Saturday, no doubt.
I think that the game represents one of the EFL community takeover days for this season, and we've seen the Bradford end, the Dallas stand, the lower tier this season welcome new faces from local community schools. And how important is it to have that kind of initiative in place for the football club? I think many fans have actually seen the fact that all stands are open in comparison to last season, which can make a difference. Yeah,
it was one of the things when we first came, myself and Chris, we asked about it, why wasn't it used? Because when I played here as a player, it was used. I remember playing here for Preston, and that was where all the Preston fans went, and I think it adds to the atmosphere. And then we've had a couple of games last season, I think maybe one or two of the cup games where it was open. But when it was introduced this season, it was quite a surprise when we saw people in there, and they're giving us feedback when we're coming off the pitch, and I like it. I think, especially behind goals, I think you need to have a crowd there, to be fair, if you can. I know there's been issues with putting people there, but it certainly adds to the atmosphere. And I think you always have to regenerate your support, your crowd. You have to invite people along. You have to get them hooked. So whether it's through free tickets or cheap tickets or some other sort of commercial-based idea, I think getting them in the building is the hardest part. And then we have our job to then entertain them, make them feel part of something, because I think that's really important for every football club. We have to understand, and I think most clubs do nowadays, that you're not just a football club. Football's so important to a lot of people, and it's not just on the football pitch, but there's a lot of work that goes on with loads of clubs, community-based or foundations that do a lot of work away from the game of football, but it's still a sort of a point where everyone can relate to a football club. And they're so big in England, especially because of the history of football in this country. So any sort of forward-thinking idea that can encourage new people to come to the stadium, new fans, young, old, they don't have to be 8 years old following their dad or their mum to a game. It can be people that have, maybe it's passed them by a little bit, but they want to see what all the fuss is about. I don't know. But yeah, I think the more the merrier, and hopefully we can keep performing at Valley Parade to keep them coming.
Thanks, Graham.
Okay, mate.
Do you think that maybe now, the day and age we're in, where you've got 3, 4, 5 Premier League games a weekend on, it's harder for clubs at Bradford level to actually get young fans in, because they've got that top quality football, if you like, on display on it's like the names are always...
Yeah, I get it. No, I fully understand.
They can watch that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Well, to them, at their age, it's free.
Well, look, there's a modern phenomenon as well where, you know, sitting through 90 minutes of any game of football is, you know, you see how everything is instant now in life, and people watch little bits of this and that, the other, and you can sit at home and watch bits and parts of like many different games. You can take highlights, all that sort of thing. So I think a lot of the modern generation are like that, you know. Whereas, yeah, and I think if I go back to my childhood and going to football games live, you know, full 90 minutes games, but I'd probably remember about 5 minutes of it, if you know what I mean, like a couple of shots, maybe a goal and all this lot. But there's probably periods where I was chatting to me mate. I don't know, I can't really remember that far back. But so yeah, there's a lot more. But I had either played football or watched football. There weren't many options for me to do anything else back then, you know. So, but there's a lot of choice now for people, and especially young people, to fill their time and have other interests. So yeah, look, the size of Premier League football now and the scope of it is global, and we're in the same country trying to fight for a portion of the audience. All we can do is do our best to win games, playing a certain way that the fans can buy into, and hope the word spreads for people that want to come and watch us. So that's all we can do. So, but I think all clubs at this level and the level above are probably on the same sort of fight.
Accrington on Saturday, they've had a bit of an up and down season, but they've shown several times that they can put in the performances that can win any game.
Well, I think Accrington are traditionally that way, aren't they? You're not going to get a weak Accrington side that doesn't fight, doesn't compete, doesn't have quality players in their team. So I think there's a lot of teams that can compete against each other this season throughout the league, and Accrington is certainly one of those.
Graham, obviously, you know, I think they sort of epitomise this league in the sense that they probably had a bit of a sticky start, and they're currently on a very good run. And they pegged back very late last night, but you know, they're picking up good results at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, it is really a league of sort of peaks and troughs for a lot of teams, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I think a lot of people spoke about the sort of the big spenders going through the division last year and going out. And I think probably the budgets are a little bit closer to each other this season. So yeah, and no one's maybe Port Vale a little bit just recently, but no one's really put a stamp on this division yet. So I think what that does is it keeps everyone alive. Even, you know, if you're in the bottom half, you think, well, no one's running away from it. The gap isn't that big, and it keeps people fighting and competing. So yeah, there's a real minimal amount of points between a lot of teams at the moment, and yeah, and it's important, like them being, I don't know where they are, you know, 4 or 5 places below us or this, that, the other, but we've just got to focus on what our points tally is, and can we keep adding to it, and can then we get stronger as a squad and as a team, and you know, we've had those troughs as well. You know, we've had really good periods, and then we're in a sticky patch right now with the 4 league games. But I'll look at the team and the squad, and I think we can have that similar run again, as in the positive one.
Saying last night about, you know, the players go through frustrating times, you know, with the results perhaps at the moment. I mean, as a manager, is these the most difficult periods in the sense of, because you know the teams, it's not like the team's not performing, they're just perhaps, as you say, the thin margins, and it's just going slightly the other way at the moment. Yeah,
I think, look, we understand the issues we have as a club, as a squad, and when we're winning games, we're not blindly looking at the result and thinking everything is great. We're always aware of potential future problems or things we have to improve upon, and the same is right now. But you know, I am a harsh critic of our performances, as in private, as in when I judge a performance, and when we talk about training, and I expect the highest standards from players, but also understand the toughness of playing competitive football every week. And I know the difference between a player or a team that's trying and which isn't, a team that's together and which isn't, a team that's right on the verge and which isn't. I know the difference, you know. So, you know, if you look back when I talk about that period at the end of the season last year, when I just drew a line in the sand, that was when it had to be. No, this isn't good. You know, there was no There's no doubt in my mind that we had to change, you know. So, but I don't see that right now. I can see the improvement we've made in certain aspects of our game, you know. And I talk about the game last week against Colchester, where, you know, this season, in its isolation, we have had a recurring issue of conceding early goals away from home. So we worked all week on how we can manage that period and get through it and come out the other side in a positive state, and that's what we did. You know, if we not 60 seconds away from a really solid 1-0 win, they're the margins we're talking about. But the players took on board everything we spoke about and worked on the training pitch. They took it into the game, and we almost got our rewards. But what it shouldn't be is a step back in. We could see the how comfortable we looked in the game, and we did look comfortable. You know, I think it was about the 60th minute mark when they finally had a shot on target. That's improvement. That gives me encouragement, gives the players encouragement. We're not perfect. We're not at the end of the line of where this team needs to be. I understand that there's loads of improvement to make, but the players always respond in the right way, and that's good to work with as a manager.
History repeating itself. Obviously, Accrington this time last year was your first win as Bradford City manager.
Was it? Right. Was it?
First league win. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Good knowledge. Yeah.
Well, it did start. You know, it was part of that run that you went into. So
that's right. Yeah.
It just shows how these things can.
Yes. That's that's positive, because that's what I mean. It can change like that, but change like that in both ways. You know, from one game. But we've tried to take this group of players and the club away from this roller coaster of emotion where we're high as a kite and then we're down in the depths. We have to try and keep a balance for us throughout the season, so we can ride the rough patches, come out the other side stronger, and not get carried away with ourselves when we're flying high. And I think that this is a time where we're trying to keep that balance of steady improvement. We know where we need to improve, and the wins will come. And if we can start Saturday, that would be a great start for us.